product of Creator Intelligence at AT&T. Would you each like to introduce yourselves and a little bit of background? You've both been in marketing and the creator space for so long and have really seen it evolve over the years. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes, we were just backstage talking about her start in the creator space 5 years ago. I started at Benefit 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, and currently I'm in charge of global marketing for Benefit Cosmetics. Also, that includes all of our creator work, our paid media, our social media, and then I also am overseeing our omni-channel initiative. So all of the e-commerce, CRM, and clienteling work that we do across all our 3,000 some bra bars worldwide.
Yeah, amazing.
Perfect. He has a big job. I am our Creator Intelligence team at AT&T, and basically I'm a liaison between our product marketing teams and our social media team so that we bring to life their products in the social space and make it relevant so that they connect authentically with their fans.
Yeah, and you have been at AT&T for 20 years. I mean, you also have a big job. It's amazing.
I've been there a minute, yeah.
And the both of you have each watched, as I said, the creator economy sort of rise and also evolve throughout the years, and it evolves so quickly, as we all know. And you've also each helped sort of like pave the way for influencer marketing at each of your legacy brands. So we'll be speaking on that a little bit today. And so like in the early days of influencer marketing, legacy brands were mostly hesitant to hand over these big online communities to this new category of creators. But now though, brands are scaling thanks to the power of content creators and influencers. And so Toto, I'd love if we could start with you. How does Benefit balance both maintaining the brand's reputation and policies, but also empowering its creators to produce content and share Benefit's story with its audience?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we really evolved this over time. You know, there were already some great sessions earlier today. You know, if you were there, you know, hearing Tim talk about, you know, how they treat inspiration, you know, for briefs, you know, with creators. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you know, balancing that brand reputation with the creator's own voice, for me, it comes down to a couple things as a global brand. First and foremost, you got to hire great people to be your, you know, influencer managers. You know, like people who really represent the brand and who can communicate it. And then two, you have to teach them what your brand is about really well. And you know, a tip I'll give you guys, so as a global brand, you know, you can't underestimate the importance of doing something as simple as translating your brand DNA, right? Yeah. So like our brand DNA has a word called exuberance that's in it, and that word just doesn't make sense in some languages. Like you actually have to sit down and talk to people about what does that mean? Like, you know, when you're talking with the other creators, when you're briefing them, like, you know, and explaining the brand, what does that mean in Greek? What does that mean in Turkish, right? So doing that sort of work, I think, is really important. And then the third thing is giving them the time to build that relationship with the creators to really teach them about our products and our brands. And then if that happens, if the creator has someone they know they can trust from the brand, then your brand voice is going to come through.
Yeah, absolutely. That education is so important. Emmanuel, I'd love if you could start with a little bit of some of the examples that we were speaking about on how AT&T has successfully amplified its creator content throughout the platform.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I have a little bit of a challenge compared to many of the brands that are here today because my product is invisible. You can't see the billions of dollars that we invest in the network, but then millions of creators rely on it to do their work. You can't see how much we invest in how many small businesses we help connect, however they power our economy, like these creators. But we've been proudly connecting this country for 148 years, and it's been a little while. So leveraging creators to tell our story has been super critical and important for us, and we have to tell the human story about it. So perfect example, just about 5 days ago, worked with a creator on a campaign. Our product is invisible, so we are featuring a Google device, and instead of her telling the world how you can get a great deal at AT&T when you shop AT&T, you can get this device, she told the story of how she's gonna warm up a certain space in her home by creating family portraits, featured the device, and then told her story and took portraits of her husband and her baby, and then showed consumers how you can print them out, and then set up that wall or mural inside your home, and how you can warm up your home.
Yeah.
So human stories.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's sort of like in the air with us. You can't really physically touch it and show it off. And then I'm curious, how do each of you decide if a social media trend is worth participating in, or if trends are worth participating in at all? So much of these platforms are driven by trends. The trends are constantly changing and driving what we watch. But how do you participate in that while maintaining your brand's voice and vision?
I'll start with that one. That's another thing that we're still learning how to do as a brand, to be perfectly honest. Trends are moving so fast these days. Definitely, if you haven't met Jessica over at Huda, talk to them about it. They are so good at matching trends. And I'll paraphrase a lot of the things that she said because they're true. First and foremost, you have to know who you are as a brand. You have to know what you want to say, for a trend that happens. And you just have to be really intentional about, knowing if you're going to add value, to a customer by doing it. I'll add one other thing from what she said is, they are so lucky that they have a content creator, Huda, that can take that and actually create amazing content. And it always isn't as easy as creating guidelines. So I go back to that first answer I gave about how important people are. They're so important in terms of translating that trend with your brand DNA. I'll give you guys an example, right? So there was a trend in TikTok called girl math, right? I'm sure you guys have heard of it. Different people doing girl math. And on one side, it could be, girls don't know how to do math, but on the other side, it's about, women really reclaiming what's important to them, right, in terms of their calculus of life. And so, understanding how to then translate that trend, with your brand, without some who just doesn't get it, who just, isn't a natural content creator, it's super, super hard. It'll fall flat. It'll fall flat. So you both need, the great brand DNA definition, and you need a great content creator to do the trend.
Absolutely, yeah. Trusting the creator who lives and breathes those trends and the platforms to kind of tell that story. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm just going to echo what he just said, but really, we at AT&T, we can't jump on every bandwagon.
Yeah.
Like Toto mentioned, we really have to understand how we are going to contribute to the conversation and how it ladders up to our brand purpose of connecting people to greater possibility. So we ask ourselves, what role are we going to play in this conversation? And if it's a match, then we'll go for it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you can't jump on every trend or you'll be making a new video every minute.
I'll add one other thing. You just also have to be okay with just failing a lot, right? I think that gets underplayed. It's okay to fail a lot as a brand. I mean, everyone forgets everything in a hot second on social. So if you screw up, it's okay. Just keep trying.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said in the beginning, you both have really watched both the creator economy rise, but also transition and evolve and change. I'm curious, what challenges have each of you faced when transitioning from really traditional marketing to creator?
We are slowly transitioning to creator marketing, and so we haven't made that full conversion yet. Our team is small but mighty, but I think one of the things that we understand it is that we are part of that marketing mix model, and how we learned in one of the sessions earlier today is that we have to understand how we are contributing to consideration, to desirability, and ultimately helping, trigger those sales online or making those door swings at our retail stores. So being part of that marketing mix and making sure that we're showing how relevant it is and driving those behaviors in the buying funnel.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Well, Benefit has never been a traditional marketer, so it was easy for us to get into influencer marketing because it was cheaper to do. But I think the biggest challenge, when you're getting to scale is influencer marketing is people marketing. You got to get people. It's an HR challenge as much as it is anything in terms to scale your influencer program, right? So you got to get really good at organizational design. You got to get really good at justifying, people's roles and, having KPIs that line up to your business practice. Because if you want to win in influencer marketing, you got to hire people. You got to hire a lot of people for it. It's not like media where you can shift money to a different platform and get a bigger investment. It's a people thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Emmanuel, you just told the story about trusting a creator to sell the product through storytelling and through their family and sort of like hanging up the photos on the wall. Do you have any advice for using social to shift the consumer's perspective of the brand and why that storytelling component is just so important and it's not just all transactional.
Yeah, so besides all of our wonderful promotions that we want to tell people about, we have to have evergreen content. And that evergreen content is those human stories. It is about showcasing how, as a brand, we contribute to the communities that we live and work in. So the work that we do to close the digital divide by opening connected learning centers in underserved communities. It's telling those stories that our employees are, facing, customer facing every day. They interact with customers and are able to share things like that where they've helped customers not only stay connected but save their lives. Right now our teams are working with our network disaster recovery and helping victims of these hurricanes. And so those are all stories that we could be telling on our own brand channels to help, build brand love. And so that's the work that we're doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys have so many good stories to tell in that regard, I just have to say.
We have it.
Yeah, it makes sense why you're leading so heavily on the storytelling. It's amazing. At a legacy brand, how do you show the stakeholders the value of creator marketing and why it's worth it and why they need to be paying attention to it? Is it through the data, through impressions, through just knocking on their door and showing, how do you show that off and really prove to them that this is working and this is something to pay attention to?
Yeah, I'll go first on that one. So that has always been a challenge, right? And if you guys were at Doug's session earlier today from Estee Lauder, he has an amazing mixed media model that kind of shows that, but that's really out of the reach for a lot of brands to put together. And what we've realized at Benefit is, because we're primarily a wholesaler, right, as a company. So we sell through Sephora, we sell through Ulta, over 90% of our business is wholesale. So we don't have the data to do a straight D2C sort of mixed media model to understand how much influencer marketing is contributing to direct sales. But what you can do as a brand is you can look at share of voice, right? So CreatorIQ is a great tool that we've used to really lean on that. And what we've seen is that if our comparative share of voice, as a brand is increasing, basically, if more people are talking about you than your competitor brands, there's a likely chance that your sales are going to grow higher. And for us, we really invested in a couple things in that regard. We got really narrow in terms of the product categories that we wanted to win at. So not just brand share of voice, but we developed a brow share of voice. We wanted to know at any time who was talking about brows and what brow products were they recommending and are we winning it. And we took it to such a degree where it wasn't about let's just partner with creators that are authentic and super fans of Benefit. We were going after our competition's creators. If someone was talking about Anastasia's brow product and they were a super fan of theirs, we targeted them to convert them to Benefit, right? So we took them on trips. Like we were very purposeful in terms of switching them over to our brand, and it absolutely worked, right?
Oh,
I mean,
fascinating.
and it's a double win for your brand. Not only do you get a new brand advocate, but you take away one from your competition, and then you start to show these things to your executives, and you show the share of voice correlation, with sales, and that worked for us.
Yeah, that's so interesting, getting really niche into it and pinpointing it. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a similar challenge at AT&T. Influencer marketing is something that we're still building across the enterprise, and we have a lot of marketing teams across the enterprise that do their own thing. But we're working to really create a uniform process, and luckily we now have a tool in-house that we can help tell and have a single voice of truth around our influencer campaigns, because previously each marketing team went to their marketing agency and said, I need to launch this product or I need to tell this message, can you get me influencers? They do their campaign, they do their wrap report, but everybody's reports and results look differently and were reported out differently. But now we have a single voice of truth, and so now we have that uniformity and consistency, and we can go across the leadership that said, well, how come this report looked like this, and now they all look the same? Now we can tell the positive story, and now we can get agreement that this is working for us.
Yeah.
I'll just echo that again. The standardization of metrics is so important. When you're in a big enterprise brand globally, nothing is worse than every single market like championing. Look how many impressions I got. Look at the EMV. Look at the reach that I got. If they're all different numbers, then you just don't know what's working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I just want to throw in a fun one. How do each of you consume content or stay up to date with the way that there's so many creators, so much content? Do you have people on your team who are updating you, or like what's your content consumption? How do you stay up to date with that?
Okay, so yes, I do a lot of scrolling, but I also stay connected with the younger versions of me, my nieces and nephews, because they're the ones that really know what's cool, and they're the ones that inform me and say, you have to look at this, check this out. So looking at the future and looking at the next generation and looking at the trends and looking at their recommendations is something that keeps me, on the edge of learning and what's up and coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they know so much of what's going on that we're like, what?
Well, I'll tell a fun story to build off of that. So I have a 16-year-old daughter. So my youngest daughter is 16 years old. And, when we were really getting into TikTok early on, it was, several years ago when she was 13, my oldest daughter is 4 years older than them. What I actually did was I gave my phone over to my kids to kind of scroll so that I could get the perspective of the algorithm thinking I was a teenager.
Wow.
And so that basically kind of, so it was a separate account, so I could just kind of keep it like that, and then I get a sense of, what they were looking at, because that For You page is just so different, right? I have to really try hard not to like a cooking video, because I know that's not like what my customers are really focused on. Well, some of them, but in general, right? So it's just really hard. So definitely, use the younger people, that you have. And I'll echo something else that I heard today. I think podcasts are amazing right now.
Yeah.
If you guys aren't into podcasts to kind of learn about the industry, they are so compelling to learn about, what is current, what is going on. I feel like it is really, really helpful.
Yeah. Any favorites?
Oh, so many. Well, I guess so I'm really big into AI right now, in AI and marketing. And so Hard Fork, from the New York Times, is Kevin Roos and Casey Newton.
Yeah.
They do a fantastic podcast in terms of what's happening in AI.
Yeah, that's great. I love that podcast as well. That's great. And we're seeing more and more creators lead the conversation around beauty online. They're like dominating beauty, and it's such a natural fit, just being able to watch and replicate and see them really use the product. How has your marketing mix shifted from the days of just models and just using celebrities to fully embracing these online creators and fully throwing trust to these creators?
Yeah, I'll go with that one. It's been really transformative,
Yeah.
if I'm being honest, right? We've never been a brand who used a lot of celebrities to begin with. We featured creators quite a bit early on in our campaigns, both digitally and in store, which is like a huge thing for a creator to actually see their face when they walk into an Ulta or they walk into a Sephora. So we've done that, all the time. But I would say the biggest impact that I'm starting to see, Amanda, is really in terms of our paid media strategy, right? Creator-led videos, when they're talking to camera, selling you the product, perform so much better than our brand advertising does. I mean, our brand advertising is always going to have a place to storytell for us, but if I'm looking just for efficiency, for CPM, for cost per reach, for even some acquisition things, I'm going to go with boosting a creator post.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously not in beauty, but I'm curious if you could speak on what like a healthy marketing mix looks like. As you said, you guys are just starting to incorporate influencer marketing and really lean into that, but aside from influencer marketing, like what does that healthy mix look like, and dedicating to all the different forms of marketing?
Well, I'm going to add, with our endeavor into influencer marketing, one of the big benefits that our brand has seen is that we are growing our audience on our on our handles.
Yeah.
But when we're growing that audience, we're bringing in people that love our brand, because our initial audience on our handles were basically customers that needed customer service or needed to complain about something. And so by working with influencers, we're able to get a lot more positive brand sentiment, especially when we create content using their own handles versus our handle. And so we're able to import that brand love into our main handle and again, build our brand that way. So that's been a big value for us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Emmanuel, throwing it back to you, we spoke a little bit about ambassador programs and just evolving the overall strategy and ways that you're working with creators. I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit about that, and then maybe Toto, if you had any thoughts about that type of marketing as well.
Yeah, definitely it's important for us to build our brand, and our products are not simple. They're complicated, and often one of the struggles is how can I get a concept of a creator through my product and legal teams and have it come back and not be in our AT&T brand voice, because I'm like, nope, this is I'm the no guy. I'm like, nope, sorry, it needs to go back to the original version, because it's not our voice, it's not our ad, it's the creator, and that's why we've hired them to tell the story in their eyes. But working with those creators consistently, and instead of using them on a one-time campaign basis, leveraging them across several campaigns helps build then that trust in the creator, that they know what they're talking about because they use the brand, because they're talking about it constantly. And so that's important for us too, and that helps us then amplify our storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing for us, right? I mean, it's all about choosing the right creator that really loves your product or really loves your brand, or ideally both, right? So, we really lean on the long-standing relationships that we've built worldwide, within our creator community to make sure that stays on brand.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then I was wondering if you guys could speak a little bit on your opinions on the future of influencer marketing. So you've mentioned several times throughout the session just the way that you've watched it evolve and watched it grow. Now from here, where do you see it going, or how are you tracking it? Yeah, any thoughts and opinions on sort of like the future?
Yeah, we were just having this conversation backstage. I'll start with this. So the funniest thing to me is like when someone comes to me every 6 months with an article about the death of the influencer, right? I mean, it really is like clockwork where, someone is going to see, oh my God, Toto, did you see this WWD article where they're saying, influencers are dying? It happens every 6 months. But the real answer of what happens after creators is actually more creators. Because you just have to look at where the industry and where the youth is headed. There was fascinating research done by Piper Jaffries, and YouTube confirmed this as well. The #1 job that kids want these days is to be a creator, right? It's not to be a doctor, it's not to be a lawyer, it's to be a creator. 63% of Gen Z, I think YouTube recently said, consider themselves as creators. So what does that mean for you as a brand is that, there's gonna be more and more creators out there. The algorithms are just gonna get smarter and smarter with the application of their AI learning. And it's gonna become more and more niche in terms of, we probably won't get as many big mega creators is my prediction, and you're just gonna get a ton more of these kind of macro creators and micro creators talking to each individual audiences. So the implications for that as a brand are really daunting. I'll be honest with you, it's a scale problem. Like, how do you then make sure that you have your hands in enough of these little buckets to ensure that, this little niche creator knows about your brand and can, talk about you with their audience? It's gonna be a big challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's such a good point.
Wow, I think that he's right in all he just said. I think my only perspective I could add there is, look at my brand and where we've been in this journey the last 148 years. Our product has evolved greatly. It's enabling the work that all of these creators are doing today. And so we're just excited to help build the technology that's going to continue connecting us because connecting us to our purpose, our brand purpose of connecting, changes everything. Gosh, I think we just need to be able to be nimble, and that's my biggest worry is like, how do I keep an enterprise nimble so that we can stay relevant, and so that's what we're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have about a minute left. Any advice to those in the audience, maybe also at a legacy brand, or haven't really dove headfirst into influencer marketing, to get into that category and to just to trust and
Oh, wow. Advice getting into influencer marketing at an enterprise brand. I mean, be curious. Like, just stay curious in the space. The space moves so fast. I think that's one of the reasons I've stayed at Benefit for 10 years is I never feel like I have the same job every year because the industry moves so fast. And if you open yourselves up to that curiosity and are always looking at, what customers are looking at, what customers are responding to, it's going to serve you really well in your career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that maybe influencer marketing at the beginning was a lot, there was more mystique and more about magic and illusion, but now we have tools that prove that this is the right move, and we have the data to showcase that if you have the ability to have a media mix model, then it can contribute to your overall buying funnel. So you definitely have to look into it, and if you're an enterprise and have those resources, then you're going to have the technology to support you in that path.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
All right, thank you, Amanda.
Good old days.